This is blog number 1, I guess. The scriptures say the most important commandment is this: Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Which translated is, hear intently, Israel. Adonai, your Lord, is God. Adonai, your Lord, is one. There's some speculation among Christians and stuff about the word Echad, meaning compound, unified, one, but if we actually just put that aside and understand that it's a purely oneness, that doesn't take away from anything else. It in fact expands everything that God is. And that's the beautiful thing about the Shema. Because when we understand that that's the first commandment, it automatically brings to mind everything that God is. When you think of God as one, immediately it would invoke the idea that not is he just a mathematical, numerical something out there, or the biggest thing out in the universe. No. He's the only thing out there. Like, God is it. He is the only thing out there. And so that brings about everything else. Okay, the beautiful thing is, not only is God the only thing out there, that would express the Christian idea of immensity, meaning he is much greater than even the universe. His presence, his being, extends beyond the created order. That's like the first concept of one. Like, God is one. He's just it. He's the only thing out there. So as a matter of fact, within his oneness, his immensity, he actually has to create a space within himself to make the universe. So he creates a space within his own being to make creation. That's how big God is, and that's like the first implication of the word one, is God is the only thing out there. What oneness also implies is purity. So he's so absolute pure. He's one. He is consistent within his being, just like a diamond is one. It's whole. A perfectly clear diamond. It's whole in its entire being. There's no mixture of anything. So one implies absolute purity, consistency, flawlessness. So there's perfection within this oneness of who God is. It's flawless of nature, and so we would attribute it to holiness. Holiness means distinct, separate, pure, undefiled. So there's an idea that within God's nature, character, being, there is absolutely nothing flawed about him. It is pure, it's consistent, it is always the same. So we would also relate that to what the Christian or theological term would be immutable, which means unchanging or unchangeable. It's not that God is unwilling to change. It's impossible for him to change. It's completely against his character. It's completely against his nature, his being. He's unchangeable, purely unchangeable. Like a rock, like a diamond. A diamond cannot be penetrated by anything else unless it just can't. A diamond is a diamond, and that's it. It will not change. It is a diamond. So in a sense, God is like absolutely, irrevocably unchangeable. That's why the Bible says there are certain things that are impossible for God. So when people try and come up with the idea of oh, God is so powerful, he can make a rock that's bigger than himself and it's bigger than him, he can't carry it, blah blah blah, that's not true. The bottom line is there are certain things that are in fact impossible for God. God, because he's unchanging, he cannot lie. It's impossible for God to lie. It is impossible for God to act in a way that is evil or unjust, because this is just impossible for him. Moving on with the idea of God as one, it implies that he is basically the source of existence. He is in and of himself the life giver, because he says to Moshe, Eye asher eye, when Moshe says, what am I to tell the people of Israel the name of who sent me? He goes, Eyeh Asher Eyeh. The foundation of the root of that means I am the source and ground of all being. I am, with the implication of I will or I will be. So there's kind of like the solid grounding of I am. I just am. And I am the source and ground of everything. And yet I am pure potentiality. Meaning I am purely the capacity to make life happen. I am purely the capacity to give out from myself. The implication of that is obviously that nothing gives to him. And in his oneness, because he is immense, and because he has to create the universe from within himself, inside of himself, he's totally outside the spectrum of what is material. And therefore he knows everything, because time is outside of him. The physical realm is outside of him. So he's absolutely knowledgeable about everything. And so that also leads to the idea of omniscience and obviously omnipotence. Those are two words, again, theological Christian words, big words, that mean absolutely all-knowing. There's not a single thing that is hidden from his understanding, and there's not a single thing that is outside the capacity for his power. He is all-powerful. He is able to exercise any amount of power indefinitely at will, without being exhausted. It's because he's not a physical being. He's got so much capacity that he speaks and things become. And if you're the only thing out there, and you're pure potentiality, it is not outside the realm of logic. Thinking about a being like that, to do something as simple as speak and have it become. And the universe, it is said in the Bible, is created from nothing. God creates a space and just says be, and it is. And to me that's just phenomenal. So when the Bible, the first commandment or the greatest commandment in the Bible is to focus on God's oneness, it's getting you to see, first of all, God is the only thing out there. And the greatest commandment is for you to focus your thoughts on who God is, because the source and ground of all being is where you start. The book of Proverbs said, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Well, because when you understand who God is, and you revere him, and you understand the capacity of who you're dealing with, well, nothing else matters. You're starting at the right place. You're starting at the foundation of where everything needs to start. And so that's why it is the first and greatest commandment is Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. But then it goes, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, with all your strength. Because these are the first steps to anything else. Because then it proceeds, and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, how can you love your neighbor as yourself truly, if you do not first submit yourself to the source and ground of all being? That's the beginning of wisdom, and that's why it's the greatest commandment. So that is lesson number 1 today about the Shema and how it applies to the oneness of God, and how the oneness of God applies to everything else. And that is my first little video blog. I hope you enjoyed it.